Last time. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How we all doing? So I want to start by sharing with you a little message. Dear Diary, Day 3 of camp. All kids still accounted for. Most showered, teeth brushed. There's a story to both, but big props to Greg for doing that. Fed, if you consider M&Ms a nutritious breakfast. Now ready for a day of fun. Views are beautiful. Sincerely, the teen advisors. So, yes. All right, so looks like, well, welcome everyone. I think, well, I'm Reverend Michael McMorrow, in case it's your first time, but I think we're all locals now. So let's just take a moment to meet and greet each other and say good morning. We may have some folks joining us from England today, so if you're out there, good morning. Reverend Jessica, I think, is watching us online. She's doing nicely. And yeah. Hear that, Rev? That's for you. And Reverend Kathy is here with her new bionic self, and we'll hear about a little bit of that, I'm sure. And so let's all take a deep, conscious breath. Exhale, allowing ourselves to surrender to this eternal now moment as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Kathy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And as Reverend Kathy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
In this moment, in this place, I remember I am letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
So join me, please, as I speak my word in the first person for each one here, declaring that there is one power which is love, as well as health and wealth and creativity and peace and harmony. And I am one with this presence of God, one with its love, one with its health, wealth, creativity, peace, and harmony. And so hereby I do proclaim that right now, as this weekend, as we remember and celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, knowing that we are living that dream of love and peace and equality, a world that works for everyone. And I know right now that this day, this Sunday, as we celebrate our lives, that we have that love and health and wealth and creativity within us, and that we are living a life that's peaceful and harmonious. And so right now that I just have deep gratitude for this day, deep gratitude for this Sunday celebration, and giving thanks for Reverend Mike, the musicians, the sound booth, the ushers, greeters, and everyone here. I just gloriously give thanks for this wonderful day. And so with deep gratitude, I release my word to the law. I know it is done, I know it is so, and together we say, and so it is. So good morning, everyone. For my creative thought today, I will share from the textbook on page 37, Spirit Works for Us by Working Through Us. And this past month, I allowed Spirit to work through me, as well as through the doctors and a surgeon, as I had hip replacement surgery. Now, this new type of surgery is a minimally invasive way where it's a quicker healing time, quicker recovery. And it's been, tomorrow will be the month anniversary, and I'm pretty much walking around with ease. Now, I know that I had good care in the physical realm by the doctors and healing support, healthcare workers, physical therapists, but I know that living these principles is where my healing took place. I did spiritual mind treatment every day, and I had our practitioner corps support me in prayer every single day. And I did daily meditation and reflection and trusted my inner wisdom and intuition. And I was in a skilled nursing place for a few days, but I realized that the atmosphere there really wasn't conducive to healing. And although I do know that people who work with elderly people, they really are heroes. But I felt like the atmosphere there, I felt like I would be more comfortable in my own home. So when I felt strong enough, I went back home, and I felt that atmosphere, being in my home with my cats, that was a lot, that I felt a lot better after that. Now, but the real thing was having a support system. Now, I have a lot of gratitude for my brother and sister-in-law, and also the love and support from my friends and the lay pastoral care team here. I had text from people, I had visitors, I had cards, I had someone, Emily and David came and took care of my cats every day, and I really felt that love. And one of the things that I ultimately realize now, that we can have all, the greatest surgeons, the greatest medical technicians, all kinds of things we can do for the physical body, and that's great. But it's the ultimate healing is through having love, having support, having peace, having a support system like this center, and the lay pastoral care, and family and friends. Those are the real things that do the healing. So I just want to say that if you're going through any kind of thing, just know that know that seed of perfection already exists. That's what kept me really focused. They say turn away from the condition, and that doesn't mean being in denial. I wasn't about to turn away from the condition and go running around the block, but I did focus on that seed of perfection and envisioning and myself eventually being more active, moving with comfort and ease. But again, I want to emphasize it's love and support and prayers that do the ultimate healing, and so it is.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. Please welcome David and Kent, join in the band here. All right. And we are thrilled to have our next guest. You got to see her again at Christmas time, but we are very, very happy to have back Miss Terry Page.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. little light of mine. Said I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. Said I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, shine, shine. Let it shine.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light of mine, yeah. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, 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 let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. Everywhere I go, yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Said everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, shine, shine. Woo! Let it shine. Hey! How y'all doing out there this morning? Doing all right? Yeah? Okay, now this is what I want to do. I want y'all to sing with me. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Now this is how we're going to do it. When I say, all up in my house, you're going to sing, I'm going to let it shine. All right, you got that? Let me give it to you one more time. Now when I say, all up in my house, you're going to sing. All right? Okay, band, let's do this. All up in my house. Oh, oh, oh. All up in my house, yeah. Oh, oh, oh. All up in my house. Oh, let it shine, shine, shine. Let it shine. Woo! All up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. All up in my house, yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. All up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, shine, shine. Let it shine. Woo! Oh, let it shine. Got to let it shine. Oh, let it shine. Got to let it shine. Yeah. Woo! Let it shine. Got to let it shine. Oh, let it shine. Oh, let it shine. Shine, 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 shine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo! Let it shine. Got to let it shine. Oh, let it shine. Let that light shine. Oh, let it shine. Shine. Yeah. Woo! Hallelujah! Woo! Let it shine. Yeah. Woo! All right now. Woo!
Yay! Thank you, Terry. Now Andrea will do our announcements.
It's church up in here today, right? Yay, thank you. That was wonderful. Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see you all. I'm here to make highlight some of the announcements, which you have in your programs. There's a calendar that's beautifully done by our administrator. It's wonderful. It's got all of our activities going on. But for your information, there is Healing Support Group today at 1 o'clock. So if there's any area of your life that you'd like to have more of the truth revealed in, come hang out in Healing Support at 1 o'clock in the back, Suzanne. Wonderfully facilitated by practitioner Suzanne Jensen. Wednesday, January 17th is Visioning with Reverend Mike. And Saturday, January 20th is the Practitioner Symposium in Redondo Beach. I'd like you to also take a moment to, if you did get a program, there is a conscious giving pledge in there that we'd like you to spend a moment looking at and maybe committing to pledging to the church. I don't know if the bookstore is going to be open because our person is not here, but if you haven't been to the bookstore lately, next time you're here, check it out. Leslie's done a wonderful job transforming it into a really beautiful gift shop. Also, if you have pictures from recent church activities, please send them to Erin in the front office or bring them in or whatever you want to do so that we can share them with our community. Also, there is a giving basket in the, well, it's a different kind of giving basket, a food drive basket in the kitchen. That's an ongoing commitment to helping people who are less fortunate with canned goods and toiletries, and we take those donations to the Women's Center at Cal State Northridge, and they appreciate it greatly. Also, if there's any changes in your contact information, there is a sheet in your program to update that. And you can fill out a slip for our giving basket, which we'll probably draw from next week. And there's a treatment request. There's all kinds of things in your program. So please spend some time looking through there. Also, Chloe wanted me to mention also that she is going to be in an evening of improv, music, and poetry coming up Friday, January 19th, Saturday, January 20th. At the First Christian Church in North Hollywood. If you have any questions about that, please see Chloe. Have a beautiful Sunday.
Thank you, Andrea. So now let's stand for our Declaration of Principles. We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe our faith operates upon a law of mind which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yeah.
Whew, that'll get you going. So, our teens are at teen camp out in Malibu. Yes. So, in case the lighting isn't very good here, but this is Josh with his mom. Right, so they put the kids in families for the weekend, and so this is one of the volunteers, and they take the kids through workshops of self-discovery. And here's Coach Greg, one of our teen advisors. So, and I think that might be Kayleen right there, but I'm not quite sure. So, just to let you know, they are alive and well. And then here they were yesterday. We were able to get everybody but Josh. Josh was out running around. You'll see why, because he's having some fun. So, here's a Francesca, and then the rest of the kids are, there's Jacob's eyeball right there. Yeah, and our advisors. So, yeah, it's fun. And then here's Josh here hanging out with his new friends. So I guess they're participating in a talent show. So isn't that fun? Yeah, so I'm very excited that about for them and for our community that this is going on. So, because the thing is that we've been setting the table, envisioning for some time for new families to come to our center. So for their parents, and for their children to have an experience of spiritual community here in our center, and for us to support and then give witness to families wanting to make spiritual living a value and to practice and raise their children in that. So we welcome our families. I know we have some of our parents here today, and it's a wonderful demonstration for our spiritual community. And I also want to thank those of you who helped sponsor kids to go to camp this year. And if this is something you would like to do in the summer, the answer is always yes. Yeah. So I also want to give a shout out to Reverend Janet Moore, Dr. Steve Gabrielson, and others who are so much planning and work goes into pulling these things off from the adult level. And I also want to give a special shout out and thank you and recognition to Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, who just stepped down as a youth director for Centers for Spiritual Living, and for establishing and making sure that youth was a focus, not only in the former organization of Religious Science International, but going through into our newly integrated center. So he's been instrumental in that. So as our teens enjoy their retreat this weekend, I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that this weekend is commemorating Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I was going to speak to that a little bit today. And also, we're going to be speaking to the way it works. So last week we spoke to the thing itself. This week we're speaking to the way it works. These are the first two Roman numeral chapters in the Science of Mind textbook, which is the textbook that we use to teach this thing that we call religious science, or the science of mind and spirit, which was put together by a fellow named Ernest Holmes. And we learn in this chapter that is not the revelation of one individual, but rather a culmination of revelations from all religious traditions, from all walks of life, and that Ernest Holmes often said that we take our good where we find it. We take our good where we find it. And this from Matthew, by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. So this is one of the basic tenets of religious science, although that one sounds pretty heavy, right? But we'll explore how this is and how it demonstrates. And I wanted to use the example of Dr. Martin Luther King, the lies of Dr. Martin Luther King, and another fellow that some of you may not be familiar with, Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. Both in my view, certainly many recognize Dr. Thurman as a modern mystic, and I actually would put Dr. King in that realm as well, even with some of the aspects about his character that are a little saltier than maybe we might like. So the King Holiday and the way it came to be, I think, is really an example of the best and the worst of race relations at the time. So this holiday was enacted in voted on in the early 1980s, which was during the administration of President Ronald Reagan. And Jesse Helms, who was a senator from North Carolina a long time, I think he was like in his 90s when he finally gave up his seat, and I think they had to yank it from his shriveled hands. That Jesse Helms filibustered against this. He was a staunch segregationist even in the 80s, and even provided a 300-page dossier of lies and jive to discredit Dr. King, to fight against the establishment of the holiday. And this is so in preparing this message, there were some things that I found quite shocking. So a few states in the South connected the King Holiday with Robert E. Lee's birthday. So it was the Lee King Holiday, which to me is just such a travesty and an indicator, really, if you think about it, of the consciousness that still needs to be healed in that area and in that region. And how we've seen that demonstrate the aftermath of that has demonstrated even in the last year or two, nastily, I might add. So that a few states in the South, this idea of the Lee King Holiday is only recently, like last year, for the state of Arkansas, and that Alabama and Virginia held on to this for a while. Now, everyone's released their attachment to this in light of recent events. And I'm not saying this in some kind of revisionist history to pretend like we didn't have a civil war. But I do want to draw attention to the fact that we have work yet to do. That and that we have seen in the last couple of years that there's still a lot of work to be done in the area of race relations, and I would even say it's not about them doing anything, that we must do our own work. So this idea that's come out the last couple of years, really the last year, I suppose, in 2016, the idea of white privilege and how resistant people of white people were to this idea, white privilege. And so it's not lost on me about how this shows up. So not only is it white privilege, but it's kind of white male privilege. So we kind of see that in a microcosm. So today we have the minister and the three guys in the band, all white males. The first service, the presider was also white and male. And what I want to say about that is that I am open and receptive to seeing diversity up here of all kinds. Of all kinds. Not just gender, but of any race, any ethnicity that or creed that you come from. So I would love to have, well, we already have a bilingual minister on our crew in Agneta, but she speaks Swedish. But I would love to have other bilingual practitioners or ministers in our crew. So if this is something that's been, if there's a little divine itch and you would like to see yourself demonstrated up here, right? If you want to see people who look like you up here, I'm saying yes. Yes, step into it. Or recruit. Either one. All right, so why am I bringing all this up? Because I just think it's so important to understand that, as Dr. Holmes spoke to, that everything that emanates in this life is a movement in consciousness and a demonstration of consciousness. So we had this moment in time known as the American Revolution, where we had this idea that all men are created equal, and then we had a civil war to try and settle that regionally, and then it took even 100 years after that to establish the Voting Rights Act. 1965. You know, that ain't right. 1968 for the Fair Housing Act. Right? Which is not just about race, by the way, women. The Fair Housing Act was single women at the time also. There was prejudice. And I'm seeing some women shaking their heads. That there has been tremendous strides made in this area in the way of employment. And yet we're still seeing that there's not fair compensation with the ducats. So we're seeing all that emanate through the Me Too movement. So there's been a lot of stuff going down. There's been a lot of stuff as a white 61-year-old male that I've had to look at. Right? So, I mean, I'm kind of thinking, you know, if you were born before 1960 and you're a white male, you're probably guilty of sexual harassment of some kind. I mean, I'm not proud of that, but, you know, it is what it is. And until we know better, we can't do better until we know better. And so if there's anything to be known about this time in our history, is that what's being revealed is being revealed to be healed, and so that we know, regardless of what nation people come from and the vernacular used to describe that we know that all of these little eruptions or disruptions are simply pointing to the fact that we still have work to do. And that it becomes even more imperative that people of faith step into the courage and the convictions of those principles and ideals that they already hold. And this is, I think, really the great promise of the King Holiday if we take the time to delve deeper and to explore what was Dr. King about. What was this fellow, Dr. Howard Thurman, who was a mentor of Dr. King and hung out at the, you know, he was a frequent visitor to Dr. King's house growing up. Dr. King's father and Howard Thurman were friends. And when you start, this fella Thurman was a prolific writer, by the way, 20 books. And as a guy who's been trying to just finish one, I can say that's quite an accomplishment. It's also important to remember that the civil rights movement began as an exercise in Christian principles, and there was some incongruity there. So with Dr. Howard Thurman, one of the things that he wrote to his most famous book and most popular book, 100 pages, which I'm going to get from researching this talk today, is Jesus and the Disinherited, where he observed how American Christian churches at the time were deeply segregated, which was reflected in American culture everywhere, not in the South, everywhere in American culture, but particularly the South in Jim Crow. And that the only way to heal this injustice was to see everyone as one in the Holy Spirit. reflecting as all peoples and all religions. Now, both of these men, interesting enough, made visits to India, right? To India. So in the case of Dr. Howard Thurman, actually met Gandhi and visited with him and had deep conversations with him and with another Sri Lankan teacher who challenged him and challenged his understanding of his own faith. And so this started to open his mind, and he started to reflect more deeply on what it meant to be Christian. And in this Jesus and the Disinherited, he argues that we want to have an understanding of Jesus's background as a poor Jew living within a minority group under dominant control of the Romans, of course, and that this is central to understanding the revolutionary character of Jesus' insights. So this isn't news to us, but now those guys writing about this stuff in the 20s and 30s, right? So kind of new ideas. And that he spoke to this when he said, Jesus recognized with authentic realism that anyone who permits another to determine the quality of his inner life gives into the hands of the other the keys to his destiny. And so this is where I went looking for Howard Thurman and Ernest Holmes, and I didn't find any direct links. But what I did find was a way that he was addressing these principles of the creative process that we know as religious science, that both Dr. Thurman and Dr. King express these ideals in an intuitive way. So, what does this have to do, then, with the science of mind teaching? Do we want to permit another to determine the quality of our inner life? Do we want to allow anyone to determine what our destiny is other than ourselves? Hopefully the answer to that is no. Can we think of ways where that answer may not, before maybe coming to religious science, that answer may have been yes? And in this way, then, we have a connection in the same idea of experience expressing as life that these three men, Thurman, King, Holmes, are connected in this way. So if we think about where we're at in the study of the science of mind this week, well, let's back up to last week. So in what Thurman is talking to us to do is to have a much deeper understanding of what we know Christianity to be. This is what he was trying to tell his congregations at the time. Holmes is trying to tell us that we really need to break down the structure of knowing of what we think God is, and to understand and know that even our mental constructs of what this ineffable power, this infinite power and presence is being bound by our own thinking of that. And that to constantly remind ourselves that we are in an evolutionary process of that understanding. So the thing itself and the way it works is our way of getting away from trying to bind this power and this presence and this process in any way. So there's a couple things going on here. That as we become comfortable with the idea that God is a creative intelligence, power, intelligence, ultimate stuff, first cause, one life, wholeness. It is the center and circumference of being. It is living intelligence, perfect life, nature, divine government. These are all taken right out of the textbook in that first chapter. That's where I got these words, these names. You probably have some favorites of your own. So if you're in recovery, it might be higher power. Whatever that is for you, I say dynamite. because you are personalizing this teaching and your own understanding of it. And then to know that not only is there an infinite power and presence available to us, but that we can use it. And the way that we use it is through the power of mind. That's the way it works. It is done unto us as we believe. And it's our thinking that makes it so. So Ernest Holmes, where did this come from? Ernest Holmes looked at the outer demonstration of life and creation. He had a sense and an understanding, just as many ancient avatars and thinkers and theologians throughout human history have sensed that there is this relationship between the creator, whatever that is, and the creature. The creature. That we are not only demonstrations of this power and presence, that not only are we made in the image and likeness of this power and presence, right? So this is kind of a biblical thing. That Holmes is saying, so let's take that even further. What if you are the demonstration of the Spirit to experience its creation by means of the creature? That not only is our body and the way that our body operates in this third dimensional realm, that there's also a multi-dimensional realm in which we move and have our being. That in this way, then, heaven and hell are not places, but rather states of consciousness. That whether we experience life in all of the greatness and goodness and sweetness of life has more to do with the way that we are thinking than anything else. And that God, in its self-reflection of itself and its infinite nature of itself, so loved itself that it created you and me in its image and likeness so that it might have a greater experience of its creation by means of you and by means of me. By thinking into itself, bound only by the nature of its own being, which is infinite, to express in an infinite way, of which you and I are the individualized expression of that. Now that's like, whoa. That's some very deep thinking. So in this way, then, everything that we are experiencing in our life is a demonstration of our thought life. Well, this is a good news or bad news situation, right? And so, of course, new students of this teaching will say things like, well, what about Hitler? What about children who were born with birth defects? It's an emanation of their thinking. And I would just say, set that one aside for deeper reflection, and instead look at something in your life that's demonstrating that isn't something that you particularly want or you're done with. And use this concept that there's a power and a presence that's infinite in nature that responds to my thinking, my thought, when I turn it first by focusing that I am one with it, and that my thought has, and my word has power, because it's impressing itself upon this very mind that's creating everything to demonstrate a greater good for my life. So, using our own life then as a laboratory, demonstration by demonstration. So we talk about princes or princesses and parking places and money and so forth. But just playing within your own life, what particular challenge are you working with right now that you want to have a greater experience of life in? So if I want to have a relationship, for instance, if I want to have a relationship, a little love in my life, then what this teaching is saying is that I must be more loving with everyone, everything. In fact, if I really want to demonstrate powerfully, I really cannot harbor ill will towards anyone or anything in spite of what they tweet. Right? I raise him, I praise him, I know there's good in this, for this too is an emanation of the divine in expression by means of this personality. That I know that within me, whatever is like that, I am calling forth the power and presence of the divine right now to allow myself to align with the higher nature of myself, which is the divine in expression, so that I can heal anything that may be like that in ways known or unknown, that I just surrender. I surrender, I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life. Amen. That's it. So it looks like positive thinking in the beginning when we first come to it, but it's more than that. You know, positive thinking is just like glazing a horse apple. It's like, you know, putting icing on a stale cookie. Right? I mean, we'll eat it. We'll eat it, but it's stale. It's not about positive thinking, it's about spiritual living. One power, one presence, one source, one life. Whatever you know that to be. That it impresses itself and demonstrates itself through an act of law that is always saying yes. Yes, my beloved, yes. And so whatever it is within me, in ways known or unknown, I now call forth the healing power within me to make me one with that power and to express itself. And that I step into the creative field of this demonstration in ways that are courageous. That I stop playing small. That I move into my life with both feet, with an open heart, with an open mind. That I'm open and receptive to new and creative ideas that move me from my current condition and the life that I currently have into the life of my wildest dreams. And I don't know about you, but I can dream some pretty wild dreams. And it's all good. It's all good. And no one has to be diminished in any way in its expression. That we are living and moving and have our being in a win-win because we're working with the power and presence of the divine itself. So, let's call forth our musicians before I get off on another tangent. So what is this principle that we want to prove? It's called the law. And who do we have to prove it to? Yourself. Ourselves. Just like Thurman was saying, there's an inner process, an inner movement within ourselves. So there is self-responsibility here. There is no doubt that the immutability of the immutability and the availability of the law, that the law is infinite. This is Holmes. It is right where we happen to be at any given time. So right now, right where you sit, the law is. It occupies all space and fills every form with differentiations of itself. As you, as me, as all of life, in ways seen and unseen. That this law flows through us because it flows through everything. And since we exist, it must be in and through us. This is the crux of the whole matter. Infinite and immutable as the law is, ever present and available it must be, the potential possibility of all human probability, it flows through us to demonstrate for us. And so if there is a legacy of Dr. King, maybe it goes beyond race relations to understand the power of one dynamic thought shared with others in ways nonviolent in ways that create a win-win. This is the legacy for the rest of us. This is a wonderful demonstration of truth. So even as we acknowledge that his life was shortened by an assassin's bullet, it is now up to us, my brothers and sisters, to call forth that greater vision for all peoples. All peoples. And so it is.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many trials, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. I said, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, was blind, but now I see. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Hallelujah.
Let's give her a little more love for that wonderful gift of music. All right, so as we prepare our gifts for the offering, we'll call our ushers forward.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Oh, Spirit lives receives through me. Spirit lives and breathes through me. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through me.
So just going within for a moment longer, recognizing and knowing that the gifts presented here this morning are a demonstration of consciousness, in coin and in consciousness, that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life of God expressing as our good. And so from the generous heart of the individual from which these gifts have been shared here this morning, we as a heart of community know that these gifts go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless the life intention of each one here, and for anyone connected to this center in any way, that we extend these tidings of good news to and blessing to our friends in this community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, the schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, for our planet as well, that we know that all of it is an emanation from the very mind of Spirit itself. And to the extent that we know this to be so, we see it demonstrating in all ways, great and small. This lifts our hearts and empowers us into ways of spiritual living that raise ourselves and others with us. We are grateful, and together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So please help me thank lovely Rita and Miss Chloe. And will you folks person today? You want to come up, Ayana? Yeah? Come on over here, Janie. So tell everyone who you are.
My name is Janie.
And you're with the Twain group?
Yes.
Yes, and what did you guys do today?
Today we're talking about all the connections with God or everybody, people, and we had some games that we had to think of, and it was really hard for us. So the first one was about spelling, and we went to camping. We went camping, and then the second one was we went to the beach. And the beach one was very easy because all of the things we could swim was connected because they could all go in the water. And then the camping was really hard for us because it had to be something with double consonants. So I thought, like, I heard the L-E ending, so I'm like, oh, is it something with the L-E ending? She said no, but I found out that it was supposed to be something with double consonants, and so it was really hard for us.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
So it was hard, but it was fun?
It was hard, but it was fun.
Cool. Well, that's a good lesson. All right. And do you want to share today?
What's your name?
My name's Ayana.
And what'd you do?
I forgot.
Pieces are connected.
When pieces are connected,
They make something beautiful.
it makes something beautiful.
I'm going to show them your necklace. And this was her necklace. No, that was it.
Okay. Are those Lucky Charms by any chance? Because I'm hungry. Oh, no, they're rubber. They're magically delicious. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, parents. Yeah, give the kids a hand there. Nicely done. Thank you, Janie. Thank you, Ayana. All right, parents, thanks again for getting your kids here. I remember that wasn't always an easy task, so good for you. And again, look up Howard Thurman. Do yourself a favor. Check him out. He's worth exploring. Reverend Kathy's going to pray us out.
Okay, if all the practitioners and ministers, any visiting ministers and practitioners, circle the room. And this is your opportunity to, if you or a loved one have a concern, just put their name either silently or out loud in the light, and we'll include Reverend Jessica Fish. And so right here and right now, I speak my word in the first person for each one here, recognizing that presence, power, and life, which is a life of God, which is love, health, wealth, creativity, peace, and harmony, and equality. And I am one with God, one with its love, health, wealth, creativity, peace, harmony, and equality. And so right here and right now, I speak my word right now in the I am, that I am creative and loving and healthy and wealthy, and that I am knowing that we have a world that works for everyone, where there is complete equality and complete peace and harmony among all people. And I do give thanks. I give thanks for all that I am creating in my life. And I give thanks for this beautiful center, for Reverend Mike and the musicians and sound and ushers, greeters, and the kids, everyone here participating. I just give thanks, and I know that we are all a blessing. And so with gratitude, I release my word to the law. I know it is done. I know it is so. And together we say, and so it is.
Please stand for the peace song. Piano. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Bye.